Hey guys, how's it going? Hope you're having a wonderful week like always. Well, today is the day that we have finally made it to the end of my Kate Bush discography journey. For now, we have made it to the year 2005 when she released her 8th studio album called Ariel. Now, this was her first album in 12 years. Her prior album, The Red Shoes, was released in 1993, so she did take a 12-year hiatus from music. And the reason why I say that this is the end of my Kate Bush discography journey for now is because she did release 2 more albums after Ariel. She released 2 albums in 2011, 10 years ago, called Director's Cut. Now, this album is a reworking of songs from her prior 2 albums, The Sensual World and The Red Shoes. And then she released 50 Words for Snow. Now, I'm planning on listening to these 2 albums for the first time in November or December of this coming holiday season. 50 Words for Snow, I mean, I'm getting the impression that this is a very wintry album. It's spring now, so I don't really want to listen to this album right now, so I am going to take a break from this Kate Bush discography journey after Ariel, but I will reopen this series in November or December of this coming holiday season. Now, Ariel is a double album. There is a disc 1 and a disc 2, and I'll be listening to both discs in this video. There are 7 tracks on disc 1, and there are 9 tracks on disc 2, for a total of 16 tracks, and the album is 1 hour and 20 minutes. Now, it says here that during her 12-year hiatus from the music scene, Kate devoted her time to family and the raising of her son, Bertie. Can I just comment on the album artwork? It's absolutely gorgeous. It's like a sea of honey. And it's no coincidence that I do think of a sea of honey when I look at the album artwork, because disc 2 of this 2-disc set is actually called An Endless Sky of Honey. So even though disc 2 is split into 9 tracks, I imagine the 9 tracks are supposed to flow together to form one long song called An Endless Sky of Honey. The album artwork is a celebration of sky, sea, and birdsong. The cover image, which seems to show a mountain range at sunset reflected on the sea, is in fact a waveform of a blackbird song superimposed over a glowing photograph. That's what I initially thought when I looked at the album artwork for the first time. I just thought it was like a mountain range of some kind against the ocean, the horizon, the sunset. We do have a lot to get into, so I'm just gonna shut my mouth and get right into track number 1 of disc 1, called King of the Mountain. Okay, that was track number 1, King of the Mountain, and this was a very pretty song. There was something very ethereal about it. I loved the sounds of the wind, and it's like a breath of fresh air. It's like being outside, stepping outside, you just take that deep breath. You're breathing in the morning spring air, and it's so fresh and clean, and at least that's what I'm getting from the production of the track. Could you see the aisles of women? Could you see them screaming and weeping? Could you see the storm rising? Could you see the guy who was driving? Could you climb higher and higher? Could you climb right over the top? And then she goes on to say, why does a multi-millionaire fill up his home with priceless junk? The wind is whistling through the house. Elvis, are you out there somewhere? Looking like a happy man. It's interesting how she brings up Elvis on this track because she does say, and the title of the track is King of the Mountain, and Elvis is the king. I mean, he's the king of rock and roll, but many people just simply call Elvis the king. She also says another Hollywood waitress is telling us she's having your baby, and there's a rumor that you're on ice, and you will rise again someday. And that there's a photograph where you're dancing on your grave. So she's singing about someone who has died, and this Hollywood waitress is going to have his baby. And this father, this man, there's a rumor that he's on ice and he will rise again someday. The king of the mountain. She sings about Elvis. So is she actually singing about, like, is this song about Elvis? I am a little confused. She's singing about a multi-millionaire whose house is filled with priceless junk. So I am curious to know if this man is connected to the waitress who's having his child. But he's also, I mean, he's dead, he's on ice, and he might rise again. And he's apparently a multi-millionaire, so I'm thinking she's just singing about Elvis on this track. It does say here that the song was written 10 years before most of the songs on Ariel. The lyrics inquire whether Elvis Presley might still be alive someplace, looking like a happy man. There is that conspiracy theory that Elvis actually did die, and apparently he was photographed. People are thinking that, I don't know, people are thinking that he's still alive after all these years. Apparently he was photographed decades later, recently, and people are like, oh, that's Elvis. He's now an old man. He's in his, I don't know, 80s or whatever. But he's still alive, apparently, walking among us. I mean, could you imagine? I'm really interested in stuff like that. I'm interested in, like, Hollywood conspiracy theories. I'm interested in conspiracy theories in general, but when it comes to, like, celebrities who have died, did they actually die? Did they fake their deaths? I'm really fascinated with that. So now we're gonna move on to track number 2, Pie.
Infatuation with the calculation of pi. And they run in a great big circle. 3, 4, 6. Oh, we just love these numbers. 5.
Okay, that was track number 2, Pie, and oddly enough, I did enjoy this track, and the reason why I say oddly enough is because I hate math, I hate equations, I don't like numbers in general. I always failed math in school. I think I did fail grade 5 math. I'm definitely more of an artsy, artistic guy, so when it comes to numbers and equations and this, I mean, I don't even know what pi is, to be honest with you. And it says here that it is defined as the ratio of a circle's circumference to its diameter, and it also has various equivalent definitions. Oh, my brain hurts just looking at it. I'm sure the numbers that she sings in the song have some sort of significance. I don't really know what they mean. She says 3.14159, and then she goes on to say 26535897932. These numbers are just gibberish to me. I'm sure there's some sort of significance to them, but I don't know what it is. She is singing about a sweet and gentle and sensitive man who loves his numbers. They run, they run him in a great big circle, in a circle of infinity. He's a sweet and gentle and sensitive man with an obsessive nature and deep fascination for numbers, and a complete infatuation for calculation of pi. So just like track number 1, King of the Mountain, where she was singing about Elvis, I am curious to know if she's also singing about some sort of historical figure in this track, someone who adored numbers and someone who was a mathematical genius. The song describes a man who has a complete infatuation with the calculation of pi. Kate actually sings the number to its 78th decimal place, then from its 101st to its 137th decimal place. I have no idea. I don't know what this means. When talking about the song, Kate Bush said, I really like the challenge of singing numbers as opposed to words because numbers are so unemotional as a lyric to sing, and it was really fascinating singing that. She also finds it fascinating that there are people who actually spend their lives trying to formulate pi. Well, I'm glad Kate has such a fascination with numbers. I like numbers when it comes to money, I guess. I don't know, I hate math in general. And honestly, I don't really ever care to know what pi is, to be honest with you. Yeah. But I will say that I really enjoyed the production on this track. Once again, just like track number 1, it was very ethereal and there's something very fresh about this album. And Kate does seem different on this album than she did in the 80s and with the Red Shoes. She does seem like a new woman, even though it's still Kate Bush. There just seems to be something different about her. Just the way this album is crafted and the production. It's just a very fresh and new album. But anyway, let's move on to track number 3, Bertie.
Here comes the sunshine. Here comes the sun of mine. Sweet kisses.
Okay, that was track number 3, Bertie, and the song is about her son, Bertie, and her love for him. Here comes the sunshine, here comes that son of mine. Here comes the everything, here's a song, and a song for him. Sweet kisses, 3 wishes. Lovely, lovely, lovely Bertie. This is just such a precious song. It's about a mother singing about her love for her child, for her son. And that's essentially what the song is. Nothing more, nothing less. It's just a mother's love. You bring me so much joy. So simple. Such a simple way to say how much her son means to her. You bring me so much joy. That's all she needs to say. I also enjoyed the production on this track, just like tracks number 1 and 2. I like how it's more, what's the word? Not folk sounding, but it's like, I can't really explain the genre of music. I did look it up on Wikipedia. It does say that this album's genre is art rock and progressive rock. So I guess art rock is the right term I'm looking for. There is something very artistic about this album. Obviously, it's Kate Bush. All her albums have been very artistic, but I guess what I'm trying to say, it's like being in an art gallery and you're looking at all the beautiful paintings and sculptures. Um, there's just something very, I can't even articulate what I want to say. There's just something very like, this album's just art. I'm just gonna leave it at that. This album is art. This really isn't an album I would typically listen to. I will be honest, this album isn't really my cup of tea. So I wouldn't really listen to this album on my own time. I do prefer a lot of her other albums from like the 80s and the Red Shoes from the 90s. But I'm enjoyed listening to this album for the first time. I like the atmosphere. Like I said already, it's very fresh sounding and it's very it's I don't know, like it's like being outside, you can hear the wind and there's something very peaceful and calming about this album. But anyway, let's get into track number 4, Mrs. Bartolosi.
I remember it was that Wednesday. Oh, and it rained and it rained. Washing machine. Washing machine. I watch them going round and round. My blouse wrapping itself around your trousers. Oh, and the waves are coming in. Oh, and the waves are going out. But it's just your shirt hanging on the washing line. Nice and warm. Washing machine.
Alrighty, that was track number 4, Mrs. Bartolosi, and oh, this was a very beautiful track. It was also quite sad. Her voice was just, I loved Kate Bush's voice on this track. Her vocals, they were so raw, and the piano, don't even get me started on the piano. This song is just pure beauty, honestly, and I loved the story that she was telling me on the track as well. I remember it was that Wednesday when it rained and rained. They traipsed mud all over the house. It took hours to scrub it out all over the hall carpet. I took my mop and my bucket and I cleaned the kitchen floor until it sparkled. Then I took my laundry basket, all our dirty clothes, all your shirts and jeans, and put them in the new washing machine. I watched them go round and round. My blouse wrapping itself around your trousers. These lyrics are beautiful. I don't know who this Mrs. Bartolosi is. It's definitely something I'm gonna have to look into. I do feel like she might be singing about someone who perhaps died, they passed on. She is saying how it happened on a Wednesday when it rained and they traipsed mud all over the house. Or maybe she's singing about her childhood, a memory when it was raining, but who are they traipsed mud all over the house? Who are they in the song? So it looks like these people were outside in the rain. Perhaps they were kids and they got really dirty and all their dirty clothes had to go in the washing machine. Sloshy, 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 get that dirty shirty clean. I do get the impression that perhaps she's singing about a mother or maybe a grandmother or a housekeeper or I'm just curious to know, like, what's the significance behind the washing machine? When talking about the song, Kate Bush said, "Is it about a washing machine? I think it's about MrsBartolosi. She's this lady in the song who does a lot of washing. It's not me." She does say that the song is fiction, so this MrsBartolosi isn't a real person. She says, "I suppose as soon as you have a child, the washing suddenly increases." So it looks like there isn't any real deep meaning behind the song as I initially thought. It's just about this mother and she is washing all these dirty clothes from all these dirty children, perhaps. They were played outside in the rain. I mean, who else can sing a song about a washing machine? That's essentially what the song is about, a washing machine, and this MrsBartolosi washing all these dirty clothes. But I imagine this song does have a special connection to Kate in some way because at one point she was a new mother and she was washing a lot more clothes because of her son. Perhaps her son got his clothes really dirty many times and she had to clean out the dirt, and even traipsing in the mud through the house and the carpet, she had to clean out the stains of the carpet. So I imagine this song's just about motherhood, I guess. I am looking up people's interpretation of this song, and a lot of people have their own ideas as to what they think the song's about. One person said that they think MrsBartolosi is a maid and she's having an affair with the man of the house, and as she does her job, she thinks of the acts of desire her and her employer have shared. That's interesting. I did think initially that this song could have been about a maid cleaning the carpets, getting the dirt out of the carpets. One other person said that MrsBartolosi lost her husband. Either he killed himself in the house or possibly he drowned. And this goes back to Kate singing about the ocean, I believe. She was singing about the waves. The waves are going out. You're standing right behind me. Little fish swim between my legs, and the waves are coming in. I wasn't sure what the significance of the waves and the ocean was in this song. I just thought it was an interesting transition between her singing about the clothes in the washer to now talking about the waves of the ocean. Someone else said that they think it's about a woman who is just doing chores around the house, and at the same time, she's daydreaming about being on the beach with her husband and making love with her husband on the beach, perhaps. So these are all valid interpretations of the song. This woman thinking about being with her husband on the beach, perhaps making love, entwined with him. Also, the clothes in the washer being entwined, being tumbled around, the blouses and the trousers. Okay. Oh. I don't know if you guys could tell, but for me anyway, it's a lot of fun trying to interpret this song in particular. But definitely, hands down, this is one of my favorite tracks from the album. So let's move on to track number 5, How to Be Invisible. Okay, that was track number 5, How to Be Invisible, and I adore the production on this track. It was very, I don't know, progressive rock, and it was giving me an eargasm. I love music like this, production-wise, and Definitely, I mean, just like track number 4, MrsBartolosi, this is probably one of my favorite tracks on the album. I feel like it is pretty straightforward. She's saying how I found a book on how to be invisible. Take a pinch of keyhole and fold yourself up. You cut along the dotted lines. You think inside out and you're invisible. Eye of Braille, hem of anorak, stem of wallflower, hair of doormat. On the edge of the labyrinth, under a veil you must never lift. I do feel like this is one of the more cryptic songs on the album. Is that the wind from the desert song? Is that the autumn leaf falling? Or is that you walking home? Is that a storm in the swimming pool? She is singing about she's singing about corridors and labyrinths and veils, so being hidden, perhaps being lost as well. When I think of corridors and labyrinths, I think of mazes and just being lost. Someone did say that at some point or another, most of us want to be invisible for a length of time at our choosing. I think this relates mainly to Kate's intense desire not to be in the glare of publicity as some stars are. She really wants her privacy, but I'm sure this gets trampled upon occasionally by reporters. Okay, this was someone else's interpretation of the song. I don't know if this is actually the meaning behind it. Therefore, if you want to be invisible, then you have the power to do so. The spell she casts is based on those things: Braille, Anorak, Wallflower, Doormat. I always got the impression that Kate is a very private person, and this goes back to her earlier albums as well. You never really hear about Kate Bush when it comes to tabloids and the media. Up until going on my Kate Bush discography journey last year, I didn't even know who Kate Bush was. So I guess that's a testament to her ability to just stayed out of the limelight and just be very protective and secretive and private. She's very good at doing it. Lyrically, this is another beautiful song. So, like I said already, this is definitely one of my favorite tracks from the album. But anyway, let's move on to track number 6, Joni.
All the banners stop waving and the flags stop flying. Soldiers, thousands of soldiers. Who's that girl? She looks so beautiful in her armor. All the cannon are firing, and the swords are clashing, and the bells are ringing. Joni, Joni wears a golden dress, and power too in swoosh.
Okay, that was track number 6, Joni, and once again, another beautiful song. This album really is beautiful, and the more I listen to it, the more it grows on me. I didn't really know what to make of it the first couple tracks in, but the more I listen to it, I feel like the album gets better with each track I listen to. Um, and I do prefer this album over her prior album, The Red Shoes. I did enjoy The Red Shoes, I just didn't love it. I do feel like Ariel is an improvement over The Red Shoes. I like it. I like the feelings I get and experience when I listen to this album. I love the production. I do feel like on this track she might be singing about Joan of Arc, perhaps. The banners stop waving and the flags stop flying. And she's singing about thousands of soldiers. So perhaps this is Joan of Arc's funeral. Joni wears a golden cross and she looks so beautiful in the armor. So obviously this has to be about Joan of Arc. And she never wears a ring on her finger. And the swords are clashing and the flags are flying. So yes, this has to be about Joan of Arc, and it's a very beautiful song. I don't really have much to say about it. I liked the production. I don't know. I enjoyed the song. I didn't enjoy the song as much as some of the other tracks on the album, but it's still very pleasant to listen to. Now, when it comes to the production of the album, it does say here that Ariel is a multi-layered work incorporating elements of folk, Renaissance. Renaissance, yes, that was the word I was looking for before. I didn't really know the right term for it. I was thinking maybe folk, and I ended up saying, I don't know, art rock. But I think Renaissance was the word I was looking for. There was something very, like, medieval about what, I forget what song it was. I think it was maybe, I don't know, it was one of the tracks at the beginning of the album where it sounded very medieval and Renaissance like. Even this track, Joni, sounds very, I don't know, medieval and Renaissance like. I also wanted to say new age. I don't know if that's the proper genre to use for an album like this, but there's just something very worldly about the production on this album. It's very fresh and I don't know. Now, it does say here that Joni is based on the story of Joan of Arc. Now, previously, I didn't know much about Joan of Arc until I watched Madonna's Dark Ballet music video from her Madam X album from 2019. And when I watched that music video, I did a bit of research on Joan of Arc because that music video is centered around Joan of Arc and how she died, and why she died. Joan of Arc was burned at the stake in 1431, and she died from smoke inhalation. Now, the reason why she was burned at the stake was because she was charged with hearsay, witchcraft, and violating divine law for dressing like a man. But anyway, we have come to the end of disc 1 of Ariel with track number 7, A Coral Room.
There's a city draped in net, in that half light. It looks like every town. Sails at the windows, and the planes came crashing down. And a little brown jug. Put your hand over the side of the boat. And what do you feel?
Okay, that was track number 7, A Coral Room. This was so powerful, so powerful. Beautiful, tender, delicate. I loved everything about this track. She is singing about a city, and it looks like this city is in ruins. As the spider of time is climbing over the ruins, there were hundreds of people living here. Sails at the windows, and the planes came crashing down, and many a pilot drowned. Put your hand over the side of the boat, and what do you feel? My mother and her little brown jug. It held her milk, and now it holds our memories. I can hear her singing, Little Brown Jug, don't I love thee? And in my opinion, the climax of the song is when she says, I hear her laughing. She's standing in the kitchen as we come in the back door. See it fall, the little brown jug that her mother was holding. Oh, little spider, climbing out of a broken jug, and the pieces will lay there a while, in a house draped in net, in a room filled with coral. So she is thinking about boats and being on a boat and sails and coral, the ocean. She does sing about water and the sea quite a bit. Well, not quite a bit, but she does bring it up on this album, on this track, and a couple of the other tracks as well. I don't know what this ruined city is. Boats and a ruined city, the spider, and her mom is holding a brown jug filled with milk. So I don't know if this is fictional. Kate Bush is very good at creating songs that sound real and true as though they actually happened to Kate, but then they turn out to be just fictional or maybe based on a movie or story or book. She does that a lot. She does write songs that are based on books and movies. She does it quite a bit. When talking about the song, Kate Bush said, there was a little brown jug actually. Yeah, the song is really about the passing of time, which is something I did think about briefly when I listened to her singing about the ruins of a city, and the cobwebs and the spider webs. So I was thinking of, I don't know, the passing of time, a ruined city. I like the idea of coming from this big, expansive outside world of sea and cities into this very small space where it's talking about a memory of my mother and this little brown jug. So she is singing about her actual mom in this song. Honestly, this is one of my favorite tracks from disc 1 of Ariel, and it was beautiful. It was amazing. So that was all 7 tracks of disc 1 of Ariel, and I actually really enjoyed it. Like I said already, I didn't really know what to make of the first couple tracks. I did like them, but I didn't love them. I know I said initially that even though I enjoyed listening to the first couple of tracks, this is still probably an album I wouldn't really listen to again. But after listening to all 7 tracks, I would listen to this album again. I do feel like this is a strong comeback for Kate Bush after being out of the music scene for 12 years. There's something very rejuvenating about this album. It's very calming and relaxing. I like the production. It's very progressive rock and it's very earthy and it's, I guess, very Renaissance-like when it comes to the production. It's very new age. You can hear the wind. It's very worldly as well. It's very peaceful. She was singing about things that I wasn't expecting, like Elvis on track number 1. She was also singing about pie on track number 2. She was singing about her son and also MrsBartolosi, which I guess is a fictional person. How to Be Invisible, Joan of Arc on Joni, and now a Coral Reef, where she's also singing about her mother in part. So overall, this was a very beautiful album, lyrically and production-wise. I also really enjoyed her voice on this album. There were times where you could just hear the raw emotion in her voice, which was really nice. And overall, I think this is a really great album from Kate Bush from 2005. So now we're gonna move on to disc 2 of Ariel. And from my understanding, this is just one continuous song. There are 9 tracks, so the one continuous song is kind of split up into 9 tracks, but I'm just gonna listen to it all the way through without stopping. This is something that I did when I listened to Pink Floyd's The Dark Side of the Moon. I didn't stop in between each track. I just listened to the whole thing straight all the way through. Now, disc 2 of Ariel is called An Endless Sky of Honey, so let's just get into it with tracks 1 through 9 of disc 2, An Endless Sky of Honey.
Gonna be laughing about this. It's gonna be so good. Go on and on. Watching the paint, he could make, and it's my favorite piece. Curving and sweeping, rising and reaching, and all the time, life is changing. What has become of my painting? So all the colors run. So all the colors run. In a sea of honey, long and low, slip in and out of wet clothes. Must say goodbye to the day before it dies. Keep us close to your heart, so if the skies stay dark.
Okay, that was a disc 2 of Ariel, An Endless Sky of Honey, all 9 tracks. And I mean, what's there to say? It was beautiful. It was beautiful. It was very therapeutic. The birds chirping, it was very spa-like, it was very relaxing. Felt like I was out in nature, out on the water at sunset. The glowing sky, an endless sky of honey. I would definitely play this again. I would have it played in the background, just lying on my couch, closing my eyes, just having this played on my TV or something. With the windows open, it was reminding me of spring and summer. Spring is coming. And the birds chirping were reminding me of my mom because she loved birds. I don't have much to say about this disc too, other than it was precious, it was delicate, it was gorgeous, it was, I mean, I said everything I wanted to already about it, and it was great. If you want to sit down and relax after a long day, if you just want to push your worries away for just a little bit, put on disc 2 of Ariel. Sit back on your couch, close your eyes, open a window, let in some fresh air, and you will not be disappointed. Now, the second disc of Ariel, subtitled A Sky of Honey, I guess it was originally called A Sky of Honey, and then it was changed to An Endless Sky of Honey, consists of a single piece of music reveling in the experience of outdoor adventures on a single summer day, beginning in the morning and ending 24 hours later with the next sunrise. I was also experiencing the time lapse of the day. It felt like the beginning of disc 2 took place in the early afternoon or morning, and then it progressed throughout the day towards the evening. So it was beautiful. I mean, there's only so many ways I can use the word beautiful. I've said it so many times already, and it was gorgeous. This whole experience of listening to disc 2 of Ariel and Endless Sky of Honey was reminding me of my mom because she loved being outdoors with nature. She loved animals and the birds, and it's just unfortunate that this will be my first spring and summer without my mom. She did pass away a week ago from cancer, and she just loved spring and summer. She loved gardening, being outdoors, and I think that's why I enjoy being outdoors so much, is because of my mom. And this whole experience of listening to An Endless Sky of Honey was reminding me of my mom. So I think that's all I wanted to say on disc 2 and disc 1. I mean, this was a very ambitious project from Kate Bush. 2 discs and 16 tracks, and it was gorgeous. I loved everything about this set of albums, disc 1 and disc 2. I think this was great. I loved everything, the production, the lyrics, her voice. I like the concept. And overall, this 2-disc set gets 2 thumbs up from me. I really enjoyed it. So what did you guys think of Ariel? What are your impressions? Maybe you didn't enjoy it as much as me. Tell me why. Maybe you loved it. And what was it like to be a Kate Bush fan back in 2005, knowing that she was gonna release a new album after 12 years? What was that like? And that is officially a wrap for now on my Kate Bush discography journey. I will be listening to the Director's Cut album and the 50 Words for Snow album later this year. But for now, my Kate Bush discography journey is coming to an end. I really enjoyed this Kate Bush discography journey. I didn't know what I was getting myself into when I sat down to listen to Hounds of Love for the very first time. That was my very first time listening to Kate Bush, and up until that point, I had never heard of Kate Bush before. I never listened to her music. I didn't know what she sounded like. You guys were recommending Hounds of Love to me for the longest time. I kept putting it off. And then finally I was like, okay, what is Hounds of Love all about? What is the hype surrounding this album? So I sat down and listened to it, and it was an experience. And then I just fell down this rabbit hole by going back to the very beginning to where it all started with her very first album from the 70s called The Kick Inside. And from there on out, album to album, it was a brand new experience with each album I listened to from Kate Bush. And as a whole, I genuinely loved all her albums. Kate Bush isn't typically an artist I listen to. I probably wouldn't really go back to her albums all the time, to be honest with you, but there are still a lot of songs from her that I really enjoyed, and she's such an interesting artist. She is unlike any other artist out there. And her voice and her ideas and her stories and her songwriting, some of the things she does with her voice, and I will say, she is a strange woman. She's a strange artist, but that's what makes her wonderful. Her music is so interesting, captivating, and she's inspired. I'm talking too fast. Slow down. Okay. She's inspired by movies and literary works and poems and fairy tales, and she is just an artist at her best. And I was never disappointed listening to Kate Bush. Obviously, there are albums from her that I enjoy more than others, but as a whole, she has a very solid discography. She's so eclectic and so bizarre, but at the same time, she has this very emotional and tender and delicate side to her. And she's just a very interesting musician. She definitely is one of a kind. I'm so happy that you guys exposed me to Kate Bush and her music. It's so fascinating for me to experience new artists and new types of music that I never listened to before. Music I typically would listen to. It really does broaden my horizons, and I've learned so much about music by listening to Kate Bush. So thank you, Kate Bush, for opening my eyes and ears to just music and what music has to offer and the sounds of the world and your beautiful voice and ideas. It was an amazing experience. So I'm gonna end this video with one final question to you. What do you think of Kate Bush and what does she mean to you? Maybe you grew up with her, maybe she's your favorite artist of all time. What do her songs mean to you? Maybe you have a special memory associated with one of her songs or one of her albums. Who introduced you to Kate Bush? Where and when did you hear her for the first time? So officially, I think that's all I wanted to say on Kate Bush and her entire discography. Thank you for coming along with me on this journey. I really enjoyed myself. Thank you for commenting and leaving your input and your little tidbits of information when it comes to her music and her songs. I really do appreciate it. So I'll see you later this year for the director's cut album and 50 Words for Snow. But for now, I'm going to say farewell and thanks for watching. You can find me on Instagram, you can find me on Twitter, you can message me, you can say, hey, how are you? And thanks for watching, and I will see you next time. Take care.